Hello and welcome to the Awkward Social. Today is a day where Intel has released their Core Ultra series of chips. So it's time for an emergency Karf nerd-gasm, and it's time for a little lesson on not believing the hype. That's right. That's right. Also, this is the second time I've recorded this. The first time, you couldn't hear me. It was 45 minutes long. Let's not make it that long this time. Let's get right into it. So, a little issue arose in the reviews, and let's see if you can spot it. Let's first start with what the marketing said. Shall we? Boop.
Enthusiasts, unfortunately, cannot spend all their time gaming, and try as I might.
So the big part about this new Intel chip is much lower performance per watt. So keep that in mind.
My friends and wife tell me that I still need a real life, so that means you or I are probably...
They're just like us, aren't they, folks?
Probably on a web browser, some sort of word processor, on a conference call like this, I suppose, and so on. At Intel, we call those everyday apps or day-in-the-life applications, but whatever you call them, Arrow Lake basically cuts the power consumption in half compared to Raptor, in half. And what's most impressive about these reductions in power is that performance still goes up on both a single-thread and multi-thread basis, as Roger indicated. So
what they're saying is it takes less power to do tasks on the chip, and you still get that great performance you've always loved and come to expect from Intel platforms. We love our marketing, don't we, folks? So let's go to the reviews on this great performance. They came out a few hours ago, well, 4 hours ago, because I spent an hour talking about this already. Let's look at Hardware Canucks and see if they... Well, oh boy, that was
changes,
tiny.
Though, they didn't impact...
Let's go back, because it's not listening to what I... Oh boy, did it? Beginning of the slide, please.
Meanwhile, both are still far more power hungry than the competing Zen 5 CPU. Some of in power mode on Arrow Lake and 14th gen systems. And it looks like we can confirm at least some of Intel's claims, because the 285K chugs back less than the 14900K, while the 245K needs way less power than the 14600K.
So that's probably true. It does take less power. They did get the power consumption down quite a bit. However, they are looking at the package power on here, which is great and all. But there is a problem that has arisen that Steve from Gamers Nexus has found out, which we'll be going over.
Well, both are still far more power hungry than the competing Zen 5 CPUs.
And they certainly are. Look at those AMD chips, those Ryzen's. They don't even have the 7800 or 78,000 on here, which is the most performant per watt on here. But the 96 or the 78. Sorry, all the numbers are really hard, and I've already done this once, and now my brain is completely broken, and I'm trying to do it for a second time and hoping that you can hear my voice, because that'd be cool. I'd like to hear my voice. In any case, this potentially would be a little bit misleading. There is a lot of charts on here, gaming performance, average watts over time.
Worth of GPU upgrades at higher resolutions without...
Anyway, let's go over to the next one, which is Jay's 2 cents. Much bigger YouTuber than Hardware Canucks.
And then if we take a look at package
4.1 million subscribers.
Power, you can see it's pulling about 120 watts, 123 watts. Spikes up over 150 at the start, again, when I'm loading the test, or the game, and then once the game is loaded, you can see right there. You'll see a little dip there. That's when I tabbed out for a second,
to
check something on hardware info, and I went back, so that's why there's a dip right there.
So he'll also check in the package watts, which is what you usually do. You usually load up HW info. That's not what I wanted to do, HW info. and then you ignore what it says. It did not load up HW info. I don't know what I touched there. It's doing it again. Do I already have it open? I do. HW info, my processor, Core i7-1270, can't say words, package using 35 watts, 42 watt, 39 watts to run my Windows PC right now. Usually you just look in there, but something has changed. So maybe just looking at the package might not be the best idea. All right, Jay, you didn't catch it. So that's great. All right, Linus from Linus Tech Tips. Let's see what you got to say. And also, Linus kind of catches a little bit. Let's see what you can catch. Let's see if you can catch what Linus says that makes a little bit of a difference of what probably tipped Steve from Gamers Nexus off of why he should dig in a little bit deeper. See if you can catch it.
It's also just not that clear of an improvement. We looked at Intel's best case for performance per watt in gaming earlier. But in our usual process for power and thermal testing, we use F123, and gen over gen, it's more of a mixed bag here. Yeah, they're using fewer watts on both SKUs, but surprisingly, they're running a few degrees hotter. So it looks like, unless they're using significantly less power, you can expect a pretty similar operating temperature.
Isn't that interesting? A similar operating temperature or more operating temperature. So the way that when you're displacing heat goes, or not when you're displacing heat, wattage, when you pump more wattage in, this is very generalized, but when you're pumping more wattage in, generally, unless it's like a 5 to 10 year gap in time, more watts equals more heat because you're pumping in more electricity. That power has to go somewhere. It has to get burned off. It has to go somewhere. You pump more electricity into something, that turns into thermal power. Has to get displaced either by a heat sink and a fan or an AIO. AIO stands for brain broken. It's a loop with water in it. Mineral something. Anyway, you get that out of there. Brain broken. Have I said that I've did this for 45 minutes earlier? And anyway, shortening this up. So Linus points out, didn't quite catch it, but because he's also looking at the package temperature or the package wattage here, but he notices a strange thing that I'm using up less power in my package watts, but I'm still a little bit too warm. That's weird. My 4900K averages at 57K of this task, but my Core Ultra 9 numbers are so hard right now. 285K, that's not how I'm going to say that ever again, is 63. That's so weird. It's 6 degrees warmer. That shouldn't be. I'm using less power, right? So now let's look at the GOAT, Steve from Gamers Nexus. The actual GOAT. Nah. Okay. He's going to give last time I went through the entire thing. Let's just look at the chart here. I'll give you the little explanation here of what's going on, and then we'll look at the chart. So basically, I don't need to look at this chart here. He's just going to explain that his methodology is sound. You don't have to worry about Steve from Gamers Nexus. He is the absolute GOAT. If you want to know anything about computer electronics, you go to Steve from Gamers Nexus. Well, not just Steve. Like, he's got an entire team of people around him, as well as like DeBauer from DeBauer, who he also collaborates with. Excuse me. But so these are like the various things you plug into the motherboard: EPS Power 1, EPS Power 2. Those are those two little 8-pin, I believe, things that plug in above the CPU that are really hard to get out of there if you plug a radiator in the top. ATX Power 1. These are all the 24-pin things we're talking about here, or he's about to talk about here. And he's just basically showing, once you break them up and plotting them on a graph, again, he's not not again. That was a previous video. He's broken them up into their individual rails, their individual copper of what they're actually doing. So then this is a chart where he's let's just let him talk.
Power's at around 30.
Let the man cook.
35 watts, which is why it's important to isolate it if capturing 24-pin power. Here's why we isolate slot power. This benchmark was for 7-zip on the 14900K. We'll come back to the 285K. The GPU does literally nothing in this.
We don't need to listen to this one. This is just more methodology. Here's the one you want to look at.
We've all wanted. In 7-zip, ignoring EPS 12 volt, we noticed that the ATX 12 volt power was.
So the blue line is the one we want to look at here, the main one. The red one is the previous platform power.
Exceptionally high on the 285K
Intel.
and the Z890 Hero combination compared to the 14900K and Z790 Hero. It's at about 50 watts here, whereas the 14900K had ATX 12 volt down around 30 watts. ATX 3 volt power is comparable on both and within 2 watts of each other. ATX 5 volt isn't easy to call a simple average. It fluctuates a lot. The range, though, is 14 to 30 watts on the 285K and Asus combination, and similar on the 14900K, with peaks about 3 to 5 watts lower than on the 285K. We don't know if Asus is using any of that power to feed things like maybe regulators that go to the CPU or something, but if any of it is, it's not much. A lot of it is driving other components like I/O. The ATX 12 volt line is clearly important, though, as not factoring in that 20 to 30 watt difference in this test would mean representing the 285K as artificially efficient because the power is sort of hidden in a cable where it's not typically meaningfully high and where we wouldn't normally look.
Okay, so what he's basically saying is it's not this 12 ATX 12 volt power line, the 24 pin. You normally would not look. It's not reported as package power, CPU package power. It's not reported there. Oh geez, oh boy, I need to wrap this up quickly. You don't look here. You would never look on this rail, on this 12 volt power to think, oh, the CPU is obviously taking power from here. So it's making it look more efficient than it is. Whether it's 50 watts here, see spikes 50 watts. I wish I could see what the actual CPU wattage on this chart was. I don't know what these spikes are, if this correlates to the CPU wattage going up or down here. I'd love to see that. Or if there's some resistor that's pulling in these 50 watts and then discharging it for these up and down things. I don't know. I'm only speculating. I don't have these boards. I don't have these CPUs. Pure speculation on my part. They are very, this is the same distance between these, so very consistent. So I don't know, but pure speculation on my part. In any case, let's look at the efficiency. AMD is still Intel's main competitor, still just completely destroying Intel, even with their change in platform, TMC manufacturing these new ones, which is who makes pretty much every mobile part. I wish that Steve would have left off the ATX 12 volt and the EPS stuff on this chart so we could see what the marketing numbers would have been, basically the package, what the reported package numbers would have been, because I bet they would be up here somewhere, because Intel was, I just cannot, I believe they were trying to be above some of these AMD numbers. Then these are MIPS per watt, millions of instructions per joule, basically. And it goes on. The story is just, they're better than they were. These are all the old platforms. So it's obvious, it's an obvious improvement as far as power efficiency, but it's nowhere near what they wanted to get to. And it's nowhere near what their marketing was talking about here, where they're talking about against the AMD platform here. It's not there. It's nowhere near what their marketing has said. You know what I mean? Sorry, my brain. Once again, my brain. In any case, you may be asking yourself at this point, well, how could Intel get away with this? How could they lie? How could they lie about this? Well, it turns out they didn't. They didn't lie, and let me show you how. And this is how marketers get away with this. And this is every time the case, and why we always need to be vigilant against marketing. And not just against marketing. You know, I've worked in marketing previously. This is how you have to think about it, right? As a consumer, when you're buying into hype cycles, that's your own damn fault, honestly, because this is just how it's going to go, because marketing's job is to sell the product, especially pre-release. It's to get everyone whipped up into a frenzy and be like, look how great this new thing is going to be. So on that first chart, it's up to 58% lower package power in lightly threaded work. It's package power. Package power doesn't report the 12-volt, 24-pin rail. They didn't lie. That extra 50 watts isn't reported in the lower package power. Yeah, that extra 50 watts would make this maybe 30% more efficient, right? So it'd be up here, which is still great. 30% more efficient, that's pretty great, but it's not as good as 44% more efficient, right? So they didn't lie. They covered their ass. They said package power. You know, they were talking about 125 TDP. You know, they covered their ass. You know, and I'm sure Steve from Gamers Nexus looked at this slide and said, package power. So how is that package power calculated? Where else could they get power from? In any case, always be vigilant against hype cycles in technology. I mean, anything, but especially technology. They will do anything they can, and it is literally their job to get you confused, confuzzled, to get you to buy their products, which is fine. That's what they're supposed to be doing, right? And this product launch seems like it's a complete fucking mess, which, understandable. It is a new product launch, right? It's a whole new architecture. They've changed so much stuff about how they're doing the chips. Before they were all flat, and now they are, let's see, a picture of it. It's now this multi-layered, sandwiched tile-based thing that's all glued together. They got a lot of different things going on here, which changes a lot about what they're doing with their business. And now TMC is manufacturing a lot of it. Before Intel did it all, so they've changed a lot about everything. So it makes sense that there's a lot of growing pains here. But it also makes sense that the consumers need to, excuse me, I don't have the hiccups. Hiccups aren't real. Okay, hiccups are done. Anyway, that's something I learned from Moist Critical. You can just tell yourself that. Hiccups are gone. That's a little bonus tip. I've never talked to Moist Critical. It's on a video of his. Anyway, be wary of hype cycles in technology, in video games. Just be a critical thinker, right? This is just a mini demonstration of that, but just make sure that whenever you're getting excited about anything, you stop and think for a second and read what they're telling you. You don't have to always understand it, but just be a critical thinker. Think critically about what they're spoon feeding you, because they have an agenda. Marketing has an agenda. It's not to make you happy. It's to sell you product. Okay. All right. That's what I wanted to say. We did it in way less than 45 minutes this time. All right. Let's go to the outro. It's going to work this time too. Before it didn't work very well. All right. Let's get to it. Have a good day. That's the wrong button. I pushed the wrong button is the thing. And see, now I got egg on my face. We were gonna have a good ending, and then now I got egg on my face.
Not a crime, but please subscribe. like